So there's so many videos. So I left the toy museum and eventually made my way back to like the main road next along the river, and found bus 25, which is like my bus. um, so I got there and I was gonna go to the zoo. I ended up talking to this guy who was also going on bus 25, and he asked me. Like, he realized that I didn't speak German, so he asked me where I was from. It's like, oh, I'm American. I'm from California. He was like, oh, I lived in California for a while. And I was like, what? So I guess during high school he lived in Salinas. Um, so we were talking about that for a little bit, and then he asked me what I was studying. I was like, I'm studying art. He was like, oh, I'm an artist. I'm like, no way. So like, it was really weird. It was like this old man, but I don't, I wish I remembered exactly what he said. But I was like, well, what kind of art do you do? And he's like, oh, drawing, painting, surrealism, erotic. And I was like, like, interesting. So I just kind of ignored it and let it go. But he lived in, I guess, Munich for like most of his life, but now he lived in Bavaria and was just in Salzburg for like a day trip. He was like, I felt like walking, so I went to Salzburg and I was like, that's cool. Um, so we were both taking the same bus to like about the same spot. So we were talking on this bus like the whole way for like maybe 20 minutes about like mostly actually American politics, which tends to happen all the time. He was like, "There's one thing a lot of us don't understand, and that's why, or that we don't really get why Americans hate healthcare." I was like, I don't get it either. So we are talking about like education being awful and how like the government doesn't really help you if you're like out of work, and just that like Europe is so much better for things like that. Like, if you lose your job, you don't have to worry about being homeless. Like, the government will support you until you can like find help. Whereas we're like, here's a couple dollars. So it's just like we were talking about that for a while. It was really interesting. Like, I've heard so many countries' points of view on healthcare. It's just really interesting. So we talked for a little bit. Then I got to the zoo, and Raquel was kind of confused. Anthony ended up not meeting us there, but Raquel was kind of confused and thought that I meant that we would meet at the hostel at 2. And I even got to the zoo late, so it was like 2:30, and I called her like a few times trying to get in touch with her, but her phone was like not the right phone. It was stupid. So so she was like, um, we were trying to figure out like what to do. So she was like, "Oh, I thought you were meeting me here." And I was like, "No, I'm already here." She was like, well, it's getting kind of late, so I guess I can just wait for you and I'll meet you back in the hostel. And I was like, no, you need to come here. You would love it. Because she's like the biggest freak for animals ever. Like, she saw a stray cat and started like trying to like cuddle with it. And she like, oh my god, there's a mouse on the street when we were by the hostel. And she was like trying to play with it. And I was like, Raquel, leave it alone. Like, let it go. So she like, I, by the time she got there, I had gone through the whole zoo. But it was such an incredible zoo. I was like, staying here for another hour is like completely cool because it was just like it was amazing. It was built into this mountain, so most of the like large animal like predator cages were like kind of built up into this mountain. So it was like hill and then like mountain cliff. And it was just awesome. I got like really close to a cheetah, which was cool. And it was like not sad at all, which is like most zoos, I think. The only sad part was the lion. Like the lion definitely didn't have enough room, which was really sad. And it was just like one. It was like sleeping next to a tree. It was sad. But the best part was the otters were so adorable. They were like they had their like little sleeping chambers, and they were all cuddling together, and just like fighting and like biting each other, and then like falling back asleep. It was the cutest thing ever. It was, oh my god, I love it. So so we like hung out there for a while, and she like yeah Raquel completely flipped out the whole time. She like started sticking her hands in the alpaca's mouths, and I was like, what are you doing? Like, you are insane. Um, but they were like all kinds of animals, and like a lot of animals I had never seen before, which is kind of cool. Um, and a ton of monkeys. Like there were a crazy amount of monkeys. So we left at like 5 ish, um, and I got chestnuts, roasted chestnuts for the first time because it's almost Christmas, which is really good. Um, so we like went back to the hostel, got all of our stuff, and then got to the train station and got a ticket to Vienna because there weren't tickets all the way through Salzburg to Brno. So we got a ticket to Vienna and got to Vienna, and I knew that we had like 20 minutes to get our ticket to Brno and then also get back on the train. So we were like kind of in a rush. So we like ran out of the train. We tried to get a ticket from the machine, but it wouldn't work. So we went to this like the like people help desk, and there's like a huge line. We were just like, we have no time for this. We have to hurry. So Raquel bought her ticket first, and I was in the process of buying my ticket, and then she was like, "Oh my god, I left my bag on the train," and she just ran out. Like she left her ticket with me, and I was like, "What?" Like we have 3 minutes. We had 3 minutes to get on this other train. Um, so I like had both of our tickets, and she was gone. Like I had no idea where she was. So I went over to the other train. And I was like, I don't know what to do because I'm not gonna stay here for another hour or two. Just because she's like trying to find her bag on a train which is not here anymore. Like I'm not gonna do that. So I was freaking out. So I like yelled at her from another platform. I was like, we need to go. We'll talk to them later. Like we'll call the train station, figure out if we can do anything. So she like ran over. We got on the train and then ended up talking to these two conductors. One was Czech and one was Austrian. And like the Austrian one didn't speak English at all. So the Czech one was trying to speak to her in or in German, and it was a mess. But eventually, what happened was, I guess they're gonna send the bag if they find it to Vienna to like the Lost and Found, and Raquel is coming back next weekend, so she's gonna pick it up there. So we got on this train back to Brno and talked to a woman from Berlin who also studied art history. So we talked to her a lot. It was like that kept happening to me of like meeting these artists and talking to them. Um, so we got back to Brno at like 12:45, which was not so bad. And I got back, talked to Allison about like our travels because she was in Vienna, and that was the end. So that's the Salzburg trip.